That's a fox.
That is actually, if you make it bigger, this is a coyote.
Oh, yo.
Yeah, that's a coyote.
Just across the street from Riverbend Middle School in northeast Raleigh, there's a woods.
Now, do you think that deer is fairly healthy by the way it looks?
No.
This female's healthy. Now, sometimes we'll get them and they'll be really, really thin, or they'll kind of look mangy. You see how you can see how the fur is really, like it's really nice, it's kind of smooth? And then I'm gonna...
Students always believed a few animals lived in those woods, but then they attached a trail camera to a tree to photograph and better understand just what animals called the woods home.
So what will be interesting to see is in the spring, do we have a lot of babies because we have a lot of females? Yeah.
That's a deer. Oh, there's two.
There's two?
Scrolling through the photos opened up a new world in those woods.
You can assume that it's probably a female since the female was walking back and forth.
A lot of deer, female deer. I've never seen a deer in real life close up. And it was cool to see that you can actually see their ribs and that there was more female than male.
There you go. So that helps you kind of determine what the weather's like.
I thought there was gonna be like a squirrel and that's it. I see a lot of things I've never seen before and I just want to see it. It's very fun.
I love the experience of them actually coming out and setting out the traps and seeing their experience with the first time running into a spider web or seeing a snake on the ground or hearing something. Because a lot of my students at this particular school have never really explored the woods because they're from the city. We don't do that. A grass or something that goes back and forth and it just triggers it. And then when they see the pictures, it's so fun because they get really excited and I'll run over and then other kids want to run over and look at the pictures too. So I love it. It's amazing. So what will be interesting
The students' photos were added into a database of thousands of photos for more than 1,400 locations around Raleigh and Washington, D.C.
Well, the great thing about camera traps is they're just this basic visual sensor, right? If an animal walks by, it takes a picture. And so that's a way that we can record what animals are there living in a given area. We can start to count the animals and we can start to say what factors are better for a species or worse for a species. We can look at activity periods during the day. We can see, are they nocturnal? Are they diurnal? Are they changing their activity period when they're near humans? Maybe they're becoming more nocturnal, which is something we find a lot of times. And then sometimes we can also tell things by looking at the animal, if they're healthy, if they're skinny. We can look at their behavior. We see predators walk by with prey in their mouth.
Researchers harnessed the power of large-scale citizen science. Volunteers placed cameras along a continuum of development based on population density. Wild, urban, exurban, suburban, and urban. The study included areas with large forests, small forest fragments, open areas, and residential yards.
Different species have different requirements for habitat. Some species really like yards, like red foxes, for example, while others are much more forest dwelling, like bobcats or even gray foxes. And so we tried to, cover all of our bases so that we could really get a good idea of what's out there.
The study found it's more of a jungle than anyone out there thought in the suburbs. Wild mammals are able to thrive near humans.
Traditionally, we think of these cities as kind of these biological deserts, right, where there's not a lot of wildlife. And so it's always really surprising with a study like this when we find how much wildlife is actually out there and how much of it's actually coming relatively close to us, in our yards and in our suburban areas.
But while the study showed mammals can adapt to humans, there's also a warning.
The idea that we have already lost some of our bigger species here quite a long time ago. So if you think of wolves, we think of it as an encouraging sign, but we also want to be very careful not to promote this as a reason to stop conserving wild areas.
Large predator species don't adapt well, which shows the importance of preserving green space for habitat.
We're finding that certainly when it comes to mammals, a lot of them have figured out how to deal with humans in this developed area. We gave them some time. Most of these species, say 50 years ago, were really rare, right? Deer were really rare. We protected them. We have now regulated hunting season, and now in some places we have too many deer. So in part, it's about giving them that protection and giving them a chance to adapt, a chance to evolve into animals that can deal with crossing roads, with having a lot of people and being crowded.
I told you guys it was out there. And I have seen that the kids actually are doing better on their tests.
You can see something's moving right there.
Yeah. And do you see there's something up front here too?
Yeah, it's a squirrel.
Because they have actually experienced it. They have gone through, because we talk about adaptations that we may see on the camera and if they're good or if they're bad. And the kids really enjoy it and they become invested.